plots in Benin Republic. The leading story, the leading headline here in the Guardian front page says relief in Cotonou as Nigeria Air Force joint force repel coup plotters in Benin Republic. That's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust, why coups are unsettling West Africa. That story is right there on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Front page of the Nation, Nigeria sends fighter jets, ground forces as troops foil coup in Benin Republic. That's the Nation newspaper. And in the Vanguard newspaper, democracy survives. How Benin Rep coup failed. How Benin Republic coup failed. FG. Dr. Majeed, what's your thought on the failed coup attempt in Benin Republic?
It's clear that the coupists may not have garnered the necessary number as well as strength among the Beninois armed forces enough to be able to topple the government of Patrice Talon. And so, with the help of Nigeria as well, because we have a president who is very eager, who is an enthusiast of democracy across Africa. So you would observe that whenever there is a change of government in any country through a military coup, you will see the kind of reaction that comes from Abuja. So it tells you President Tinubu seems to understand the danger in having democratically elected government surrounding Nigeria toppled by military government, because it got a contagion effect in Nigeria. And recall that we had a coup scare just recently, even though authorities didn't quite confirm that, but it simply tells you that across West Africa and most of Africa really, democracy is still quite shaky and has come under threat from time to time. However, I must also point out that the greatest threat to democracy is not the military or those who want to effect military coup in some of these countries. I think the greatest threat to democracy are the operators of the democracy themselves. Those who actually you would think are the beneficiaries of democracy, their undemocratic conduct have rendered African democracy unable to deliver good governance in the form of welfare and security. So this is why from time to time you are likely to see attempts at effecting extra constitutional changes. So for now, from all indications, democracy appears to have been saved in Benin Republic, our very strong ally, culturally, economically, security-wise. Nigeria and Benin Republic share very long-standing ties that dates even before the existence of modern Nigeria. And so, usually, whatever affects that country, Nigeria is always concerned. So, we're not surprised that Nigeria quickly rallied around a sister government to save the government from an undemocratic change through a military coup.
If I may follow up with this question that I asked my listener this morning about, the coups and counter coups, especially in West Africa sub-region and the Sahel, if you like, 2 coups in Mali, 2 coups in Burkina Faso, you have the Equatorial Guinea, you have Niger, you have the attempted one in Benin Republic that just failed now. And I asked a question, with the trend now, obviously, we're experiencing what is called the cool belt. What has failed or what is failing? Is it democracy or leadership? Dr. Majeed has dropped off. We'll try and get Dr. Majeed back on the show this morning. Hopefully, he rejoins us as quickly as possible. I asked that question this morning because if you observe the trend across the Sahel, the West African sub-region, you see the way this is moving. Remember, a couple of weeks back, we couldn't verify whether actually there was a failed coup attempt in Nigeria. What was flying around was, military people being arrested, top military brass being arrested, and all of that. But we couldn't verify, we couldn't ascertain that. But it appears that in Western Africa, you have military junta, military coups taking over governance in Western Africa and in the Sahel as well. And they've named quite a couple reasons why they are doing this. They've named bad governance as to why they're doing this. They named lack of commitment to fighting insurgency in the Sahel and the western part of Africa. They've named that as well. They've named restive people, restive citizens, restive peoples of their country as to some of the reasons why they have taken the decision that they have taken. Then you also want to look at the undertone as to why this is common in some certain African countries. For instance, the Francophone West African nations, it's quite common there, and we've seen what has happened there. And we've also seen how Nigeria has approached this. I know earlier today, quite a number of people were pointing accusing fingers as to the Nigerian military, especially with regards to the speed with which the Nigerian military went into Benin Republic to go and restore order, which was also one of the questions I was going to ask Dr. Majeed Dahiru this morning as to what could have motivated the president to have given that directive for the Nigerian military, especially the Air Force, and even the the ground troops to have gone into Niger, Benin Republic rather, to go restore order in that country. But hopefully Dr. Majeed will join us much later on the show, and we'll continue with our conversation this morning. Let me quickly go take more stories from the Guardian newspaper. I'll just take two more, then I will come and take your thoughts, especially because we couldn't get your thought in earlier at 6:15 this morning. So yeah, I'm not going to take many headlines this morning, okay? I will just take a few more. When we have Dr. Majeed back, then we'll go back to these stories, okay? So here we go with these stories here. This headline on page 3 of The Guardian says, FG secures release of 100 abducted Niger school children. FG secures release of 100 abducted Niger school children. The Guardian, page 3 this morning. Let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper. Bandits kill 7 in Sokoto communities. Bandits kill 7 in Sokoto communities. That story is on page 7 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. I'm going to drop the trust right away. Let's go to the Vanguard newspaper and take this story here. On page 9, Serap to INEC, explain missing 55.9 billion naira voted for 2023 poll materials. That story is on page 9. Serap to INEC, explain missing 55.9 billion naira voted for 2023 poll materials. Stories on page 9. Serap on that. Now to the Nation newspaper. We're going to take this story here from page 31. 14 victims freed from Enugu forest. 14 victims freed from Enugu forest. That story is on page 31. Page 31 of the Nation newspaper this morning. So I'm going to come right now. Let's come take your thought. If you've shared your thoughts earlier at 6:15, please do not call. I'd like to give others who couldn't share their thoughts the chance to call in. So if you've shared your thoughts, please, I beg of you, do not call. We have tons of people who couldn't make it in at 6:15, okay? You've got 60 seconds regardless. Good morning to you.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning to you.
I didn't call 6:16.
All right. Welcome, Jonathan.
Sheriff, yesterday around 6 p.m., I saw 2 aircraft in my neighborhood flying back from the Cotonou direction. I never knew there was a coup. It was when over the night, I started reading.
Yeah.
Just like everybody has said, Sheriff, if we have the capacity to go into another person's country, and we even said they shoot from the air and from the land, and Sheriff, they did not kill innocent people. That is only the rhetoric in our own case. They will say they are killing innocent people. So you went into somebody's country, you can shoot from air, and you can't call it. That means, Sheriff, something is wrong in this place. Not that I don't know. Something is really wrong. But I think it's crystal clear that something is wrong with this country. We are releasing 100 children. They can carry 300 children, and we cannot do anything. Or we can go into somebody's country. Something is not aligning here. Enjoy your morning, Sheriff.
All right, Jonathan, thanks for calling me. Appreciate your time. He said, look, if we can go into a country, why can't we sort that out here? Okay, Dr. Majeed has rejoined us, thankfully. Thank you so much for rejoining, Dr. Majeed. Before we lost the signal from your end, Dr. Majeed, I was asking you what has failed in Western Africa and the Sahel. Is it democracy that has failed, or is it leadership?
Oh, it's leadership. It's not democracy. Democracy is constant with all of the elements of democracy. The elements of democracy include fidelity to constitutionalism, absolute fidelity. Democracy also entails absolute observance of the principles of rule of law. Democracy also includes respect for fundamental human rights, upholding the dignity of democratic citizenship, equality of citizenship, so that a democratic state is supposed to be one that is governed by the rule of law, that is egalitarian, that presents equal opportunities for all and sundry to grow according to their capabilities. But you will agree with me that in Africa, in most parts of Africa, the reverse is usually the case. So you have democracies where those that are leading such democracies undermine the very constitution upon which they swore to uphold. They introduce all forms of electoral subterfuge to retain power. And so I can assure you, and I can say it anytime, any day, that in a democracy where elections are rigged, you cannot then complain of undemocratic change of government, because a rigging of election itself is, as far as I'm concerned, worse than a military coup. So you can't have flawed electoral processes across Sub-Saharan Africa and pretend to be a democracy. So in that sense, what we have in most of these countries are not really democracies in the true sense of the words. It's just a facade of democracy that covers up the worst form of dictatorship, corrupt dictatorship, that has not been able to deliver for the people in terms of welfare and security. So naturally, people, when they become frustrated with the system, they will seek alternative means of changing it. And sometimes it could be military, it could be revolution. So to prevent all of this, to prevent coup in West Africa, to prevent revolutions across the continent, will it be for leadership to be fixed? Those that are in the saddle today should commit the much needed class suicide, uphold the constitution in its entirety, and make sure that it is implemented according to the intent, the spirit, and the letters. Prioritize national interest, collective interest, over and above ethnic, religious, and sectional interest. Until we have this in South Africa, we can't claim to have a democracy.
Dr. Majeed, if I may follow up with this last question before we move on to our next story. This argument has been raging since morning that we started this conversation, since 5 a.m. We started this conversation. Nigerians are wondering, what could be responsible for the speed with which Nigerian government, Mr. President, gave the directive for the Air Force and the ground troops to go into Benin Republic to bring order and sanity into that country, that we cannot do the same thing for our people here anytime we have situations of unrest, especially kidnapping, especially mass kidnapping. People have been ruminating on that all morning on this show.
Misplacement of priority by Nigeria's president and commander-in-chief. A country that is as troubled as Nigeria, that is fighting an internal warfare, should hardly spare the time and resources to go into another man's country to salvage their own situation. At a time that the government is forced to negotiate with bandits, in order to have abducted children released, the same government that cannot muster the courage and the might of the state to go after domestic enemies that are ravaging this country is so quick to deploy air force and ground troops into another man's country to salvage the country. It simply portrays a man whose house is on fire, but he would rather pick a bucket of water from his own well and go and attempt to put out somebody whose house is also on fire. So it's misplacement of priority. And citizens are right to raise concerns. Very right. And the optics do not seem to portray the government in a good.
Oh yeah, I think we lost. Okay. I think we lost Dr. Majeed's connection there. Hopefully he is able to rejoin again. Okay, he's back.
We have gone out of this country to bring back someone like Nnamdi Kanu. We went to Kenya. It takes a very coordinated. So I'm saying it takes a high level of sophistication and intelligence coordination on a global stage to be able to pin down an individual like Nnamdi Kanu and bring him back to this country to face justice, to face trial. The trial was conclusive. In addition to that, the government deployed the maximum force, maximum might of the state to crush insurgents in the southeast, effectively. Kudos to them, kudos. Now the question is this. If you can bring in Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya, if you can go to Benin Republic within 48 hours, why is it so difficult to go into the northwest within the same country, 50 kilometers away from Abuja, or to the northeast, and bring the leaders of these groups that have caused even more pain to Nigerians, that have caused even more damages to Nigerians, that have caused even more havoc to the Nigerian state? Why is it difficult for us to do so? You see, the day we lost a brigadier general in the battlefield in Borno, that would have been the day the French should have declared final war on terrorism in Nigeria. That should have been the day. That should have been the day we should have heard that fighter jets have been deployed all over the theater area to carry out aerial bombardment, moving with heavy artillery, moving with the armored corps to make sure that this is a final solution to this problem. We lost that opportunity. And as we speak, insecurity is still thriving. In fact, the irony of the matter is this. Some state governors, some state governments request for somebody's help, including air power, to be able to stamp out terrorism in their states. And it is delaying in coming, yet we're able to quickly go to Benin Republic to render the same service. Nothing could be more of a displacement of priority than what has just happened. And it's unfortunate.
That's really, really unfortunate, Dr. Majeed. Let's go quickly talk politics. Let's talk politics. PDP crisis, weakest camp moves to reorganize state chapters, conduct fresh congresses, convention. That story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. Dr. Majeed, what do you suppose is happening to the PDP right now? Burial ceremony?
Of course, they're trying to give PDP some, I don't know whether to call it indecent burial, or what is befitting of a political party that performed worse in opposition than it did in government, which is unfortunate, and has actually left Nigeria almost on the.
Yeah, the connectivity has been that type today. Yeah, it's been that type today. That story The Guardian has it this way. PDP. Okay.
It's the failure of opposition. Hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Dr. Majeed.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now? So all I'm saying is, the PDP performed much worse in opposition than it did in power. So if you see today that Nigeria is sliding into one-party state, as many people fear, it's not because of Tinubu or the APC or they have a magic wand. It is the failure of the PDP. A failure that started in 2023 when they refused to zone to the south. You see, I had predicted then that PDP was going to, run into troubled waters and sink into oblivion in the post-Buhari era. So that's actually what you see happening. But for the wicked camp, the sorry thing for the PDP is this. There are two camps in the PDP now. The wicked camp and the Makinde camp. Unfortunately for the PDP and for opposition, both Makinde and Wiki are allies of Mr. President. Tinubu of the APC. They are his allies. So head or tail, PDP is not going to be in a position to challenge Tinubu in 2027. Now, this is the scenario. If Wiki manages to have the upper hand, probably at the Supreme Court, they've entered into a long period of legal conundrum now. If the Wiki camp manages to have the upper hand, they are likely not going to feed the candidate to challenge Mr. President. However, if the Makinde camp manages to have the upper hand, they will field a very weak candidate, a candidate that is not going to be a challenge to the president. They will simply serve as a placeholder on the platform of the largest opposition party in Nigeria, just allow the president to have a smooth sail back to power. So head or tail, the PDP is not in the equation for 2027 election. That is the reality of the matter. So the PDP is as good as dead going to 2027. And the worst case scenario is that if the PDP does not exhaust this legal conundrum before primary elections, which is sometime next year, the PDP might not have candidates going into the next election. Meaning the PDP is effectively dead by 2027. Because if you don't have candidates going to an election, I don't know how you can call that a party that is actually breathing. So either way, the three scenarios that I've painted, the PDP is in a self-inflicted trouble that will be difficult to recover from.
That's unfortunate. Quite unfortunate. We're going to take this story on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. The story is investigative report revealed how Abuja street names are allegedly sold for up to 35 million naira. Dr. Majeed, I don't know what's going on in your Abuja, but let's read that story very quickly. A Vanguard investigation has uncovered an alleged multi-million naira payment scheme within the Abuja Municipal Area Council AMAX street naming and house numbering process, to which applicants were reportedly asked to pay large sums into private bank accounts instead of authorized government revenue accounts, despite the honor being officially presented as free. What say you?
Culture has a way of undermining rule of law, constitutionality, and even rules and regulations. Otherwise, the craze for wanting streets to be named after individuals in Nigeria is a cultural thing. And so when you have such a culture, to find a ready audience or to find a ready partner in corrupt government officials who seeks to desperately also prey on the desperation of those who want their names to be emblazoned on street signboards as Maduka Street, Gwazo Street, Adedeji Street. Normally, streets are supposed to be named after people that deserve these streets to be named after them. Pioneers, distinguished Nigerians, and in some cases, people that have historical ties with some of these areas. So that it can be explained to a child, for instance, why this street was named after social person. Be an educational thing to say, look, this street was named after social person for social reason, which would not make that child to aspire, for instance, to be excellent in character.
Right.
Enough to be able to earn such an honor. But in Nigeria today, you see streets named after everybody, and you can't tell why these streets are named after such and such people. So definitely, where culture means a corrupt bureaucracy, you will be surprised the kind of things we are seeing today. And people will keep paying because people want their names to be named, to want streets to be named after them, whether they deserve it or not, as a cultural relic. So it's a cultural problem that needs to be solved. Why do you need your name to be on the street? Just for the sake of it? Well, I mean, what is to be gained there? What are you going to gain?
To the extent that you are willing to pay over 30 million naira.
40 million just to have it. In Abuja. So it tells you the kind of thinking we have as a people.
That's
The kind of
unfortunate.
thinking we have as a people. Very unfortunate.
Let's take our last story as we go, and this is quite interesting. Header petitions EFCC to probe Fayose Obasanjo over birthday funds. This is in the Guardian, page 7. Human and Environmental Development Agenda Header Resource Center has petitioned the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC demanding a full investigation into an alleged money laundering transaction involving former Ekiti Governor Aidele Fayose and former President Olusegun Obasanjo. I mean, the story is there, but Dr. Majeed, you heard about the exchange of money to come for my birthday, and then your money is still there. I've kept it somewhere. I would. Oh yeah, return my money. I will return your money.
You see, this is another cultural problem. Why do you have to pay anybody to attend your event? Why do you have to celebrate 60th? I don't know how old he was then. Why do you have to celebrate birthdays in such an outlandish manner in the first instance? Like you now need to pay a high-profile politician and statesman, like a former president, to come to attend your event. When I heard it, I didn't know what to make of it really. I used to think that invitation it was free, and that it is when you attending the event, they'll bring gifts for the celebrant. I didn't know it was the other way around for VIPs. And yes, the group that has petitioned for investigation to be made, yes. Where did you get the $20,000 to pay for one person to attend your event? He needs to explain it. And President Olusegun Obasanjo should be careful. I expected much more than this from him because he's somebody I respect so much. I consider Olusegun Obasanjo one of Nigeria's greatest leaders, both as military head of state and as a civilian democratically elected president. I credit him for some of the progress Nigeria has made in the last 65 years, but he should be careful at this stage. He should have known better than to accept that kind of money from Fayose, because Fayose, as we all know, has not come out to squeal. It doesn't do his image any good at all. So yes, I support the call for investigation. Nigeria is the only place you throw away money, or throw out money, and nobody asked you the source of the money. Yes, so it's in order. Even though I know that nobody will investigate that.
All right. Dr. Majeed Dahiru, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. It's been great. Yes, we had some hiccups here and there, but thank you, sir, for coming around.
Thank you, Sheriff.
All right. Lagos, that's our show this morning. We'll be right back with our next program. Stay here, please.
8 a.m. Enjoy creamy joy in every cup of tea with Kivo Creamer.
This is where it all connects, all in one place.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.